Hi everybody.
Hi.
My name is Meirav Harel. I've been chosen in London a few months ago as one of the leading women in Fintech. And today I'm going to explain to you what Fintech is, where it started, where it's going, what's happening right now. And before I start, I want to ask, how many of you are American? All right, I'm going to be speaking directly to you, then maybe my accent will come back. Okay. All right, okay. So let's start from the beginning. If this will work, it would be really good.
At the beginning, there was dark.
At the beginning, it was dark. Thanks. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to be recorded saying that. All right. Okay, so let's start with the beginning and start with the question. What is Fintech? Does anybody know? Do you have a guess? Okay, Fintech, exactly, is the combination of financial and technology, okay? And what Fintech refers to is actually the growing industry of startups in the financial sector, okay, all over the financial sector, and how the banks are adapting to it. And this is a story. This is the story of what happened to the banks in the last, I'd say, around 8 to 10 years, and how they're being changed, and what's happening with them now, and where they're going to. Let's start at the beginning. 2008, when you guys were all in, I don't know, high school. Does anybody remember what happened in 2008? Go on. By the way.
We just look young.
In junior high school, in elementary school. Okay, where were you guys? 2008. Who remembers what happened in 2008? Subprime. All right. There was the whole subprime crisis, and people were laid off. Okay, people from the banks. Now, they went out of the banks, they were fired, and they said, wait, we know how the banks work from the inside, and we know what's wrong with them. We could come and try to build something that might even compete with the banks, or that could implement or could do something to make things better in the banking world. And that's how it started. Now this industry has grown up to the sizes of, we're talking about something around 12,000 startups in this sector. And this number is not accurate because there are a lot of startups that are like in garage mode that nobody knows about them and they haven't been funded, and they could be around there also. 40% of London's, no, they're not going to be able to videotape this. 40% of the workers in the City of London, according to what the mayor said about a year and a half ago, work in financial technology or the combination of both. 20 billion of financing for fintechs. And by the way, I think this year China has passed the investment in fintech in comparison to what's happening in Europe and in the Western world. And they're talking about it right now. They're kind of referring to it as the fourth industrial revolution. Okay? And there are a lot of exits in this sector. All right, now, in what areas does fintech exist? And it's kind of a changing landscape, okay? Because everything here is constantly evolving and changing. And I just took a few of the companies in each of the sectors because if I wanted to show you more, this is how it would look like, okay? But we're not going to go into that. We're going to look into a few companies in each of the sectors, and we're talking about the sectors that have been affected mostly are payments, lending and financing, retail banking, wealth management, insurance, and markets and exchanges. And we're going to go over each one of them and see what we can learn and see what's happening there. We're going to start with payments and transfers. And we could actually, let's say if we wanted to call it, we could call it the case of the diminishing friction, okay? 6 examples, I'm going to bring you 6 examples of the development of payments and money transfers and where they seem to be leading to, okay? Let's start at the beginning. If you wanted to do some sort of transaction, buy something, you wanted to transfer money, who did you have to go through? The banks. Okay, some sort of financial institute, right? I wanted a loan, I have to go and ask the bank. If I wanted to transfer money to any one of you, I'd either do it by transferring money and then I'd be paying dollars, shekels, quite a lot of money in order to transfer money to you. If I wanted to buy something, I would go through the bank or the credit card or a check, right? But it had to go through some sort of financial institute that we know of. Things started to change. Most of us know PayPal, okay? And PayPal allows me to go and buy something abroad and just pay directly, okay? I don't have to transfer or wire the money over. I just want to remind you guys, I don't know how many of you have been here in Israel like 15 years ago or 14 years ago?
All of us.
All of us? Almost all of you? Okay, then I'll remind you that the commission for transferring money to somebody inside the bank that I was in, okay, if it was in the same bank, was 10 shekels. If I wanted to transfer money to somebody that was outside of the bank but still in Israel, it would have been 40 shekels.
41.
Yeah, or 43, depends on each one, right? And if I wanted, it's still, okay, and if I wanted to transfer it abroad, it would have cost me $10, $20, $30, $40, $100, depending on how much money I wanted to transfer, right? Still until today. Still until today, but look what happened. First of all, you're buying things abroad, right? And you're paying PayPal, and you're not paying that commission, right? You're paying a different commission right now, right? But that's not the only thing. I want to show you some examples of what's happening in the payment sector.
Just this, thanks.
How do you want to pay?
With this. Cheers, mate.
ANZ welcomes Apple Pay. Anywhere you can tap and pay. It's a big deal for a fraction of a second.
So that's one way to pay. That's different than what we know, okay? But that's not the only way. Let's see what else has happened. Do you know what Square is?
Yes.
All right. This is Square for those who don't know, okay? If I'm a vendor and I want to sell something to you, I can connect my Square to my cell phone, and then I'd be having two things. I'd have something technical, and I'd have something that has an application that allows me to swipe the card of the people that are buying from me, and the numbers and the money and all the balances are going to go automatically into the balance sheet, okay? Let's take another example of the Apple Watch, okay? You're standing in the middle of Manhattan, you want to order yourself a taxi or some sort of ride and get from somewhere to another place, right? You go like this, the ride appears, you go into the ride, you drive to wherever you need to go, and then you get out of the ride. Something happened here, okay? The money was transferred, but it was frictionless. That's why I'm saying diminishing friction, okay? Because the person is not touching the money anymore. The person is not swiping a card anymore. The money is being transferred almost without me noticing that I've been paying for something, okay? Now, if you look at it you can look at it from different sides of what's happening here, okay? One side is by looking at it and saying, okay, when the person wants to sell things, one of the points where he loses his customers is at the point when they need to put their credit card in or where they need to pay, right? When you have frictionless paying, what's happening? Is the customer even noticing that he's paying? No, okay? They buy more, they don't notice, then they look at their sheets and they're going, oh my God, what happened here? Why am I in such a debt, right? Okay? So that's one point of view. But on the other point of view, you're looking at you're having more and more and more options of how to pay and pay less as a customer, okay? Do you know this?
Yes.
All right, let's look at this, not from the point of view of retail. Let's look at this from the point of view of payments, okay?
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
All right, we don't have to see more of this. We understood the idea. And if we look at this from the point of view of payments, we see, again, that the payments are becoming less and less feasible or something that we notice that we're doing, okay? And this is one of the developments that's happening in this field. Let's look at this from another angle, okay? WeChat, do you know what WeChat is? It's like the WhatsApp, only in Chinese, okay? For Chinese people. We're talking about 7 million global monthly users, and we're talking about 31% that are using this app for shopping. Now look what it can do. I'm going to pay you blah, blah, blah. I'm transferring you this and that amount of money, and the money is transferred to somebody else, okay? Do you know that in the last year, in the New Year's in China, more money was transferred, they give presents to each other with money, more money was transferred through WeChat than through any other channel, okay?
You can even sit in a restaurant and have somebody at home pay the bill.
Exactly.
Through WeChat.
Okay, it's amazing, okay? Now look at this, do we know this? What's this?
Smartphone.
What's the application do? Can we recognize this? All right, this is Messenger. For all you Americans, when you guys go home, for US users, you can pay through Messenger. You can just send money to each other through Facebook Messenger. Okay? Let's not show this. What do you think if you were a bank, okay, that had been working for, I don't know, at least 100 years, right? And you had been getting commission for this type of work, okay, transferring money from one person to another. And then something happens, and a lot of these different companies are starting to offer money transfers, and okay, it still costs 10 shekels or 40 shekels or whatever shekels if you want to do it, if customers want to continue doing it through you, but they could do it otherwise in a much cheaper way, right? Well, how would you feel?
You get disturbed.
Getting wrong.
Okay. All right. So the first thing that they felt was, okay, wait, something's wrong here. Oh no, what's happening? Okay? Look at this. Visa CEO threatened PayPal, saying, we're going to go after you in ways that have never been seen before. Okay? So this happened, okay? May 2016.
When was he fired?
No, but look at the amazing thing, okay? We said they were disturbed, they were kind of worried, what's happening here, okay? Look what happened. A few months afterwards, what did they do?
Joint venture.
They joined together and they collaborated, okay? And if you're looking at this, this is kind of an illustration of what's happening in the whole fintech scene. These little startups come, they're making their wonderful little things. The banks at first were kind of disturbed, and then they said, wait a second, we could just buy things from them, right? And then offer it to our customers. And let's integrate it into our banks, right? And that's what's happening. So kind of like banks have stopped being really threatened by the little fintechs, by the little startups. They've kind of started collaborating with them, and it's called like they're fintegrating the technology into their system, okay? And but the story doesn't end there, okay? There are more players. Let's continue and look what's happening, okay? So this is the status right now, okay? We can start transferring money from one another. From Facebook, hopefully it'll come to Israel, and then all of us can transfer money all over the world. Zero payment or almost zero payment. We're not going to have to pay those commissions anymore. But what's the next step? What's going to happen now? Okay, so what are the new developments that could be happening in the future? Now we're kind of looking into the future and thinking, what could be the next thing? Okay?
Peer-to-peer. Like a person-to-person loan or...
Okay, wait, we're not there. We're not in loans yet. We're still in payments. We're going to look at loans. Let's look at the next thing in payments, okay? In money transfer and payments. Do you know what IoT is?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Now imagine yourself you have, okay, for those of us who are not sure, let's just like say what IoT is. The idea is that any product that we have could theoretically be connected to the internet, and when it ends, it could also say, I need more of myself, right? Okay, so if my ink cartridge is going to finish, it just says, you know, it contacts the store, says, okay, order another one of the cartridges, and then, you know, the person has ink.
Amazon Dash.
Okay?
They have this.
Yeah, all right, okay. That means, though, if we look at that example of the ink,
No communication between persons, which is terrible.
okay, wait, we're going to think about that. Yeah, we're going to think about that in a second. But look at it from the payment point of view, okay? What happened here? The ink cartridge had to pay. How is that going to happen? Okay, something here needs to be developed in order for this to happen in the payment sector, okay? So that's one of the ideas of where the payment sector is going to be going, okay? Another idea. Okay, pay as you go and pay as you drive insurance. I have an 17-and-a-half-year-old daughter who's learning right now for her driver's license. Do you know how much I'm going to have to pay for her to get insurance to drive my car? Can you even guess?
You're going to double your insurance. I think,
It's 8,000 shekels a year. Okay? From my point of view, it's wonderful that she doesn't pass the test. So I'm like, go for it, you know? Take as long as you want, you know? Go become a student before you start driving, okay? But look at this idea. What if every time she went into the car and she started driving, only then would I start paying for her insurance, right? I wouldn't have to pay for all the time she's not in the car, only for the time when she's in the car and she's driving, okay? That's also something that would have to have some sort of mechanism that takes care of the payments, right? Okay? Let's continue. You started saying about peer-to-peer, right? Let's look at lending and financing.
Is it works today in Israel?
No, not yet. Not yet. Okay? Not as far as I know.
There is something that you can buy for 5 days or for 3 days at a time, but you have to call, you have to pay over Visa, and you have to say, I need it from this day to this day. So for students that come home only through the weekends,
It could be nice, but it has a lot of friction, right? And that's why we said diminishing friction, okay?
Yeah.
Because it's much easier if you could just pay automatically.
Chinese always shaking the phone. You know
Okay, why?
Because they're like stimulating, running through steps. And then they got discount over the life insurance.
That's good. All right, okay.
It's like what you do with the Fitbit something.
Yeah, you're showing that. By the way, in the insurance issue, but I'm not going to tell you this, remind me to tell you something about ways, okay? Next, let's look at lending and financing, okay? And we're going to see the difference between P2P and crowdfunding, okay? And we're going to see what happens when you have beginning startups, and then you have some sort of problems, and then another wave of startups starts, okay? Let's look at that. Again, if I wanted to take a loan, if I was a company or if I was a private person, and I wanted money, I'd have to go to the bank, right? Now you can do other things, okay? So let's start with crowdfunding and see what that means. The idea in crowdfunding is that when people have something that they want money for, they could come and say, okay, I have this great idea, this is what I'm offering. If you guys want to come and invest in me, or you want to donate, or you want to be some sort of backer of me, then this is where you can put the money, okay? Now you have companies doing this, you have websites doing this, okay? Let's start with Kickstarter, okay? You can go inside, you can choose whatever type of things that interest you, okay, that you want to fund. And then you can come and choose how much money you want to put there. I want to show you one of the best, or one of the products that got the most backing in crowdfunding. Okay, this is called Pebble.
Hi Kickstarter, my name is Eric. This is my smartphone, and this is my Pebble. Pebble is a watch that you can customize. It runs a lot of cool and useful apps, and connects wirelessly by Bluetooth to your iPhone or Android smartphone. This is our dream team. It started with a prototype built from cell phone parts. That led us to our first commercial product, the Impulse smartwatch for BlackBerry. The number one question we received was, when will the watch work with my iPhone? Well,
all right, okay, we're not going to continue seeing this, but the idea is that if you want to fund something, you can put a video up on some sort of crowdfunding site. This is Kickstarter. And you can ask for funding, and you also offer something in return, okay? Yesterday I heard that making movies, this is like a really simple movie that was made quite a long time ago, and you see that it's not in high quality. Now, startups that want to start selling something or that want to get funding for what they're doing, they have to make movies that are like, they cost them about 5,000 shekels up to 10,000 shekels, and they're investing a lot of money just to make the movie in order for it to be competitive enough to get investors. This specific product, what?
It's not a big production.
Yeah, but the thing is that you see over here, you can see that it's like a homemade movie, and look at this, our dream team, and you're seeing a couple of geeks and everything. But now I'm not sure that would work anymore. But if you look at what happened when this came up, they managed to get $10 million by 68,000 backers that came and gave money to their idea. Okay.
And they succeeded. They operate.
All right. Okay. So that's exactly the next. Oops. That's exactly the next slide, because some of these things work, and they're wonderful. I'm going to tell you about one of them in a minute. Why is this not moving on? No, we do not want you to do this. Let's just do like this. All right. And some of them work less, but I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you another few examples. Indiegogo. Okay. It also has. This is also a crowdfunding website. one of the stories of things that are actually kind of common now. They weren't, at first when this happened, it was really weird, but a woman came up and said, okay, I don't have enough money to bring a baby, and I would like to please ask your help to fund a baby for me, okay? I went up today to see what's happening with that, okay? And you can see more and more and more families doing this, and they're saying, okay, we need to have, we can't bring babies naturally, and we wanted to ask you guys for help, and we promised to update you about what's happening with our story, and send you Christmas cards and report cards with the kid, and show you that we're raising exactly like we're supposed to, and they're raising money that way, okay? Now, Indiegogo has gone into a few different sectors, okay? There are new things like equity crowdfunding, that instead of asking for money, or you could ask for or give equity, you can do retail crowdfunding. Now this is really interesting. Imagine that you're making clothes, okay? One of the annoying things that can happen to you as a retailer is that you're making clothes and nobody wants to buy it, right? And then you're stuck with everything that you made. What if you put your things up before, right? And you said to people, if you want, you could buy it right now, or tell me what you want me to create, and then I'm going to be creating it for you, okay? That would save a lot of money for retailers. Although there's also some sort of people that are saying that's not right because retailers and big companies have enough money to back themselves. Why are they going into the crowdfunding scene? Because crowdfunding is supposed to be for people that don't have the backing money for themselves, and it's not fair that retailers are using it. But that hasn't stopped Indiegogo from going into this, okay? And corporate crowdfunding, same ideas. They can come and say, okay, we have an idea to make you guys, I don't know, some sort of app or something like that. Tell me if you like it, and then we're going to create it. Again, the same kind of argument. Is that fair for big companies to be using crowdfunding or not? Yeah. Yes, no, you can argue about that, right? Okay, fails. You wanted to know about fails. Look at this little baby. Okay, this is a cooler that has a stereo inside, okay? And the guys that made this came up and said, look, we're going to, every time you have to go around, why do you want to go on a picnic? Why do you need two things? You can have everything all at once. They got 62,000 backers, and look how much money they made, and everything looked wonderful. And then what happened? Anybody know? They couldn't make it in the right price, and they couldn't ship it in the right price. And then there was a whole issue around this, and it kind of put a question mark, a big question mark, on crowdfunding, okay? Which brings us to P2P, okay? Let's start. I'm going to just say a few things about crowdfunding. When I do crowdfunding, I am not offering the money back to whoever gave me money, okay? I'm giving something else in return. In the case of the parents that wanted a baby, it would be report cards and stuff like that, right? And in the case of the cooler, then they would give the cooler, let's say, at a specific price or something like that, but they're not giving the money back, okay? If you look at P2P, that's different. P2P comes and says something else. It says like this. If you look at what a bank was doing when it was giving loans, it was actually playing two sides of the market, right? Because on the one hand, there are people that wanted money, right? And on the other hand, there are people that want to invest money, right? And the bank was just standing in the middle and connecting between them and taking some sort of commission out of that, right? Came these little startups that now they're kind of big, right? And they said, wait, it doesn't have to be a bank that stands there in the middle, right? There could be other people that are connecting people that have the money and people that need the money and connecting them one to the other, okay? And that's the idea of P2P, okay? People to people, person to person. And people are giving people loans, and in the middle, it's not a bank anymore. It's these websites. Does anybody have a little problem with that? Yes?
Who's going to make sure you get your money back?
Ooh, that's a good question, okay? Which brings us, remember what I said? That you can sometimes see that there's a first wave of ideas, and then they're not really complete. Then you have a second wave of ideas, right? First of all, started coming up places to, that review the P2Ps. That's nice. But look at this. Credit scoring models. Do you know that some places in the world, people don't have banks, okay? All they have is their cell phone, but they do have Facebook, okay? Can I know something about a person from his footprints in the social media? Okay, so look what Lendo does.
Around the world, millions of members of the aspiring middle class find themselves in a chicken or egg type dilemma. Even though they have steady income, they still can't access credit because they lack a formal credit history. And without credit, they can't build a formal history. Yet, most of these consumers carry a smartphone, are online, and connected through social networks. leaving behind a digital footprint that can be analyzed to better understand who they are and their attitudes toward credit. Lendo helps financial services providers extend credit to consumers in this segment by analyzing these digital footprints to verify their identities and assess risk. Their algorithms translate non-traditional data like social media activity, browsing behavior, geolocation, and other smartphone data into insights around the consumer's behavior, network, and strength of their relationships. Information that can be highly predictive of people's creditworthiness.
All right. So what does that mean?
It's like the Italian mafia. If you don't give money back, they will come and kill you.
Okay, but let's look at this. Look at this idea, okay? We want to do P2P lending to each other, okay? And then I come and look and say, okay, this person lives in Beverly Hills or Manhattan, and this person lives in some slum in Africa. This one works at Amdocs, and this one kind of herds sheep, and this one, his friends are driving these wonderful cars, and this one has a camel, okay? Can I say something about the way that they're going to be returning my investment? Let's say a big investment, $200. If I get $200, where are the chances bigger, statistically speaking, of where I'm going to be seeing my money back or not?
The one with the camel.
The one with the camel.
$200, they wouldn't
Okay.
run the
So Lendo comes and says, we can start and create a credit scoring system according to where these people live, what they work, what they drive, and all the rest of the information that we actually have on social media. Okay? Does this remind anybody except me of 1984? Okay? Let's continue. The Big Brother. Okay?
1984.
84. Yeah, all right. Why is this not working? All right, again, before we see this, let's look again from the perspective of what's happening to banks. They're used to having systems of connecting people and letting them invest or loan, and they're standing there in the middle, right? What do you think the reaction of the banks is going to be now that there are other alternatives out there for people to connect to each other and give loans or invest, okay? And I'm just going to remind you that as an investor in the banks in the last, 8 years at least, you'd be getting almost nothing if you're going to you could be putting your money on a risk-free picadon or something, your money is going to be there, right? So even investors are looking for other ways to get the money back and get higher rates, right? Okay? Again, if you were a bank, how would you feel?
Angry, frustrated.
Exactly, that was the first reaction. All right, and then they started thinking, what did they think?
They can create their own tools.
Let's buy the tools.
Let's buy the tools. Let's create a look. Goldman Sachs is entering P2P lending. Okay? Now this is very interesting, but that's what you guys have been doing, right? Okay? But they're doing it now differently. They're calling it P2P, or they're kind of making it a little bit different. But they're also going in, okay? Again, they're integrating something. They're doing something that has happened in the startup world, and they're kind of putting it into their systems.
That's the strategy. If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, but the game does not end there. Okay? All right, okay. Let's look at retail banking. Okay, now this is really interesting, what's happening in retail banking. And I'm going to call it 4 interesting developments in retail banking and the challenged definition of banks. If I have a bank account in a certain bank, and I have another bank account in another bank, in the traditional manner, even if they had a website, I'd have to look at this bank account separately and at this bank account separately. Where do I see the aggregation of all of the money that I have in different banks and in different investment bodies? Okay? So one of the areas where Fintechs evolved, okay, are exactly these places. Okay? They give you the complete picture, and this is Mint. Okay? And it can show you the aggregated spending that you have and the aggregated investments that you have, and it just shows all the systems together. Okay? So that's one of the developments that are happening in retail banking. Second development is neobanks and challenger banks, and that's why I'm saying that the banks are being challenged. What are neobanks and challenger banks? And by the way, the names are interchanging. The idea is this: banks have come to understand that what they're what they're offering, the regular traditional bank that they're offering, is kind of lagging behind what's happening in the world, which makes sense because if you look at the store like Amazon and you're looking at your bank, the store knows more about you and offers you a better digital service than what your bank is doing, right? Okay, that doesn't really make sense. There's kind of something's not right here, okay? And then they said, okay, we have a problem though. Why can't banks become Amazon in a second? You know what their problems are?
Regulation?
Regulation, one. What else?
Union.
Unions, they have workers. They have a lot of workers that are united together, right? Okay? And they can't just fire them. They have like 12,000 workers in Israel for each of the banks, right? What are they going to do with all these workers when they have to do everything online? But they can't fire them. They're unionized. What else?
Processes, bureaucracy.
Process, bureaucracies, okay. But something even deeper.
I think the technology.
Exactly. They have legacy systems, okay? Their systems are very, very old, okay?
They don't want to change.
And they don't necessarily don't want to change it. But the alternative of changing it is so expensive and so crazy that it's going to take them like 5 years just to change their legacy systems. What are they supposed to do at this point? Assuming that they understand and they know that something's wrong, but they have all this like weight on their shoulders, they can't change like they would have wanted to, right? So what's one of the solutions that they could do? Or
integrate into their systems.
Yeah, but they still have the legacy systems, and not everything works in the legacy systems.
Put it to the third world.
Do what?
Put it to the third world, like you give it to
Okay.
someone else.
Yeah, that's like you can do it with guns, right? Okay, that's a good idea. I'll offer that next time I talk to a bank. But what some of them are doing are actually creating another bank. Okay, they're creating an internet bank right next to their bank. Okay, and you see a lot of examples of these that you're seeing a regular bank that has created another bank next to it that is giving online services only. Okay.
How it answers your question what they're doing with the old system.
Okay.
They don't miss the opportunity.
No, let's think. When they're building that
They
little
use
bank,
their
what are the systems that they're building on?
The existing ones.
No,
New ones.
they're building on the new infrastructure. Therefore, in a few years, when this becomes big enough, they can move their old systems as well to the new system, okay?
No, but today they work in parallel.
Exactly, but they're putting a lot of their money.
Your current bank.
Exactly, which is kind of funny, but if you look at it, they're not going to be the first ones that are doing it. Look at it on and up, okay? Look at different retailers, like you have Gap, you have Banana Republic, and you have Old Navy, okay? So from their point of view, they're saying, okay, I'm going to offer something that is right now, it's going to be a little bit cheaper, it's going to give everything online, everything's going to be, yeah, it's also trendy, but it's going to be like you don't have a lot of commissions, you're going to be getting less services, but everything's going to be online, okay? But the idea is that they're building something underneath. What they're building under this bank is the infrastructure to move everything to that infrastructure, which is very smart, by the way. But in addition to that, you have a lot of regular little banks, okay, that are coming up. I met people that were like, they were 30 people, and they made a bank. They even got the regulation for it, okay? You can create a bank. It doesn't take 12,000 people. It takes around 30 people. No, in England, actually.
180 alone.
There is one in Israel.
180 alone in your
Oh, that's a really good point, because none of you have asked yet, where is the regulator in this story? Okay? Because you said that there's the regulator on the old banks, but what's happening with all these new things? Where's the regulator when it has to do with lending to each other? Okay? Where's the regulator when it has to do with transferring money? What if something's not, being transferred correctly? What if something's happening there? We know everything that happened in the banks, even the changing of the digits of the 1, 2, 3, 4 digits after the dot, right? When that happened, who is checking?
Who owns the liability if something happens?
Exactly. Okay, what's happening here? And we're going to touch that point a little bit more when we continue talking, but put the regulator there on this side and ask yourself, what is happening there? Because one of the problems with this whole ecosystem is that things are happening so fast that the regulator can't keep up. Okay?
Especially in Israel, they're so busy.
Yeah, but it's all over the world. Okay? The regulator is kind of lagging behind. We're going to see more examples of this. Okay? So what we said is we have neobanks and challenger banks. They're either made by the banks themselves or created by other people, right? And they're making different kinds of banks.
Neo-regulators or challenger regulators?
There are, okay, so the thing is this is the nice thing, okay? If I want to make a bank, and I want a license to a bank, yes, I have to go through a lot of paperwork. But do you remember think it was Aristotle that said this. If you take a cat and start taking the pieces apart, when does it stop being a cat and become something else? If you take a bank and you start putting it together, where is the point where it's a bank and it's not a bank? Okay? And on that fuzzy boundary, a lot of these companies are working. Okay? And we're going to see this in a second. Okay? There are a lot of neobanks and challenger banks. We're not going to go over all of them. Let's look at Atom Bank, okay? Which is kind of leading. And one of the things that they're offering in comparison to your regular banks is when you have a regular bank, you see your website with your bank account in the same color all the time, right? What if I want to change it, okay? I want to see, I'm a customer of Bank of Pauline and I want to see things in green. And I'm Bank Discount and I want to see things in blue, okay? You can't do that in a regular bank, okay? But Atom Bank has a little service that says, okay, choose your colors, okay? Choose how you want things to be seen. Which actually kind of makes sense because I can, I can change my hair color. Can't I change the way I'm looking at my bank account? Maybe I want to see things differently, okay? But that's just a minor thing. Now you're asking me, what is this doing here? How does this have to do with banking? I'm going to tell you a little story.
How the money goes for.
Uber started having drivers. And then they noticed that around 30% of their drivers don't have bank accounts. They work with cash.
Don't pay taxes.
That's a problem for Uber. Wait, let's not talk about, let's put the tax to the side. Where are they, like everything in Uber is supposed to be frictionless, remember? Okay? So how are they going to transfer the money to drivers that do not have a bank account? How did Uber solve this problem?
Uber Bank.
It actually opened accounts for their drivers, that's where the drivers are getting the money, but it doesn't end there. If an Uber driver wants to buy a car, he can actually take a loan from Uber. Now, does that make Uber a bank? Again, we're going to that question. Remember the fuzzy boundary of where does a bank begin and where does a bank end? And again, where is the regulator? Okay, what's happening here? And that's why I put here Uber. See, is Uber part of the retail banking ecosystem? I don't know. Okay, that's a question. There's another thing, before I show you this, there's another thing that I wanted to tell you about. There's another issue. Big companies, let's say AT&T, they let their customers buy ahead of time with credit. Okay? That means they're kind of giving loans to their customers. Now, it kind of creates a problem with their balances. Every quarter, their balances could go up or down, not according to what they're really doing, but according to the amount of money that their customers owe them. Okay, now this is creating a big mess for the accountants and for the balances and for people buying their stock because it's very hard to tell what's happening. Is the company doing well or not? Or is this only the part of the loans that is making a problem? And this is AT&T, okay, giving loans. Okay? Now because everything is changing and the technology is changing so fast and companies like Uber can open bank accounts, it's really hard. It's like everything is shifting and we're not even sure where it's going to end at the end, right? Where's this all going to end after this process happens? And that's why I told you that it's a constantly changing ecosystem. Okay? Do you know what this is? Conversational interfaces. Okay? I can start typing like a text to a message to my bank, okay? And start asking, here, okay? Or a reminder for ideas, what to say, type, help me, okay? But here, what was my largest chunk of food transaction? What am I spending on, okay? Because Cisco Kai is one of the leading companies that has, this is called chatbots, okay? Or conversational interfaces, where you can actually talk with the bank, but with words like you're writing a text, and on the other side, there's not a real banker. There's a system, okay? And it's an artificial, like you can't call it artificial intelligence, but it's a machine learning system, okay? That can learn what the customer is saying. Is this going to be the next trend? Okay, and this is what we're kind of looking at. What areas is Fintech going to exist in the future? The next wave. Is this going to be the next wave?
Already is.
It's starting. But is this going to be like something that is like common or regular, like when you have a bank account and you have a website? Are you also going to have a chatbot with that bank site? Is it going to be good? What kind of chatbot is it going to be? Okay? Banks in Israel still don't have this. Like they have something really simple. But it's not exactly common. You don't have it in all the banks. Is that going to be the next thing? Like every bank has to have a website. They're going to also have to have a chatbot? Okay? So where is the retail going? Maybe this is one of the directions. Do you know what this is? This is Wells Fargo's website. and they have taken all the companies that are competing with each and every element that they have on their website. Okay? It's called unbundling of a bank. Remember what we said about the cat? Okay? So these are the competitors for each and every segment of retail banking that Wells Fargo has noticed. Okay? And I'm sure there's more stuff here that they have. Like, I don't see your messenger for the transferring of money on WeChat. Okay? All right, let's continue looking. And we're going into the markets and exchanges section. Okay? In the markets and exchanges section, one of the questions that arises is algo trading and robo trading and artificial intelligence, as opposed to crowdsourcing and crowd wisdom and social trading. Okay? It's kind of like looking as though this segment is going into two opposing directions. Okay? Let's look at this for a second. If I want to invest money, I can now come and build an algo trade. Now, there were always algo trades and robo trading, right? People were writing mathematical algorithms that were saying, buy or sell according to this and that algorithm, okay? That existed, and I know people that have been building algorithms for private investors throughout the years, okay? But what's happening now is that you have websites like this one, okay, that allows people to just build their algorithm for themselves. Okay, they can come and build it, and then the system can look at it. Now, what's interesting, and I don't know if Quantiax does this or not, theoretically, they can look at the different algorithms that people are building and notice which ones are better and use it for their own nosol, right, for their own investments. Okay, I don't know if they're doing this, but that could be a really nice idea. You're giving people the ability to build algorithms, and then you can just use the good ones for yourself, right? You have a lot of other ones. Cool Trade is saying trading without emotions, because one of the problems with people that are trading is that they're buying and then they're seeing that the stock market is going down and they're going, oh no, what's happening here? I've lost so much money, and then they sell and the stock market goes up. Okay? That's emotion playing. If you're buying a stock for a long term, you know it's going to be a bumpy ride, and you're supposed to, okay? According to the theoretical way, you're supposed to say, okay, if I bought a good stock and nothing dramatic has happened to that company, even if the stock market is going up and down, eventually it's going to go back to where it's supposed to be.
This is already taking shape. I work in ed tech, and this is already the norm in our industry. We have real-time bidding where the machines bid on app placements. So
exactly.
It makes sense that it would go this way.
Exactly. Okay. But this is only one side of the issue. Okay. So let's say if I have money and I want to invest, I can go and either rent an algorithm that invests my money. If I know what I'm doing and I understand investing, I can go and build myself an algorithm on this platform or any other platform. But there are other alternatives. Oh, this is really fuzzy. Okay? Do you know what wisdom of the crowds is? Crowd wisdom? For those who don't know, crowd wisdom was, I think it was first documented. No, it was documented before that. But the story goes like this. Somewhere around the 18th century or 19th century, in the middle of a square in London, somebody put an ox there. And he started asking passerbys to come and bet on how much this ox weighs. Okay? And then some people betted that it was really light, and other people betted that it was really heavy. But what he found was if you took and did the average of what the different people are betting, you get pretty close to reality. Okay? Now come and look at this theory and ask yourself, what if I did this about stocks? What if I took and connected our thoughts together, and I found out that all of you guys think that, let's say, Apple is going to go up or down, okay? Or let's say if it was 600 people thinking that Apple was going to go up or down, okay? Could I help people invest if they knew what other people were investing in as well, okay? Let's look what eToro did.
This is Dan. He wants to start investing his money, but he has neither the $100,000 to give to a regular money manager, nor the time and information to analyze the markets himself. Charts, oil, euro, Apple stocks, it's all just too much to look into. But what if Dan could see and copy what his Wall Street buddies Tim and Eric are doing? Well, actually, he can. Introducing eToro, the world's largest investment network, where people share their investments in a social community. Dan chats with them and follows them to get updated about every trade they do. He can spot the top performers and look at their open book profiles to see all their activity and performance, including picking the ones to automatically copy whatever they're trading by choosing how much he wants to invest in them. So now Dan is using the wisdom of the crowds to build his people-based portfolio. He is now investing like a financial guru. Millions of people have already connected on eToro to start investing in the markets. Welcome to eToro, your investment network. And by the way, it's free. Register an account on eToro.com.
All right, okay. Now, do you notice that it's really interesting because if we look at these two different ways technology is taking us in the investment sphere, we can see actually they're kind of opposing directions, aren't they? On the one hand, we're letting machines do the investing for us and telling algorithms what to buy and what to sell. And on the other hand, we're actually letting people connect to each other and talk to each other and learn from each other. Okay? Where is this going? What's the next step? Okay, and that's an interesting question. All right, let's see. Other startups, interesting things that are happening in the investment sector. Do you know TipRanks? All right, TipRanks came and said, okay, there are around 5,000 people that are analyzing the American stock market. Okay? How do I know if the analyst that I'm reading is a good one or a bad one? How do I know if he knows what he's talking about or not, right? So what they did was they actually took they started checking how true or how close the analysts got with what they were saying that was going to happen. How close were they? And according to that, they started giving points or stars to the different analysts. Okay? And then you can see now when you're looking, let's say at Apple stock, you can see different analysts with different amounts of stars. Okay? And then you can start saying, okay, well, I want to listen to this one because he has 5 stars. Okay, he knows what he's talking about as opposed to a different one that only has 2 stars, right? Let's look at the other side of investment, okay? The wealth management. Now, what's the difference between markets and exchanges and wealth management? It's the point of where you need somebody to advise you what to do, okay? If we looked at markets and exchanges, it's mostly for people that know what they want to buy or like they want to do it themselves. They don't necessarily want to go to somebody that has a diploma in investing and can be an investment consultant for them, okay? And by the way, the question here is where is the part or the role of humans in the investment world? Because look what's happening here. Not only startup companies, but also existing banks come and say something like this. If you want to see an investment consultant, you need to have a certain amount of money or more, okay? But if you don't have that amount of money, we can offer you an automatic service that can tell you where to invest. And how is that system going to know what's best for you? It's going to do exactly what the investment consultants have been doing all over the years. Okay, any one of you is an investment consultant?
No,
okay.
Using one.
All right, so what happened? When you went to an investment consultant, what was the first thing you did?
He interviewed you, asked you about your risk
management. Exactly. He asked you questions. He wanted to know about you, how risk-averse you were, right? He wanted to know what the money was intended for. He wanted to see how old you were, right? And according to these questions, he built a risk portfolio for you. Okay? And then he said, okay, this person has this and this amount of risk portfolio, right? This is what the risk that is right for him. Now let's build a portfolio according to it. Okay? Let's say he knows he wants to move abroad, let's put more money on dollars, okay? Or he's kind of old, let's put less risk on what he's doing. If he's kind of young, maybe his risk can be better and he can sleep well at night if he's not earning a lot of money in his investment, he can lose things. Let's put a higher risk, okay, on his portfolio. All of these questions could be asked by a computer, right? And could be asked by a questionnaire. And that's what's happening here. Let's look at this.
If you're like me, you care about investing your money wisely, but aren't really sure where to begin. This is Wealthfront. It's an automated investment service that makes it easy to invest your money the right way. Click Invest Now, let Wealthfront determine your risk tolerance, set up an account, and it will take care of the rest, working 24/7 to manage your investments. It automatically rebalances your portfolio and reinvests your dividends, all commission-free. You can check in as often as you like, or just set it and forget it. In the past, you might have hired a broker, but that comes with really high fees, typically more than 4 times the cost of Wealthfront, and that's not even including all their hidden fees. And Wealthfront is overseen by a team of...
Okay. So what are we seeing here. If we used to see that humans would go to other humans and get investment advice, we can see that now there are systems that can do that.
What is the penetration trade, if you know, from this kind of...
In Israel, we don't have that yet.
No, not Israel. Worldwide.
Okay, so Betterment and Wealthfront are doing quite well. And as what we saw earlier, this is something from Vanguard, okay, which is a regular bank. And they let you have advisory services. I know that big banks in Israel are working now to create a system that would come and replace their investment consultants, okay? But you don't have to completely replace your investment consultants. There are other ways to go, okay? First of all, one of the issues that you have as an investment consultant is what happens after I build this wonderful portfolio according to everything that you are and everything that you need, and then you come and you know when you go and spend 10,000 shekels on going abroad, okay? Or 100,000 shekels for buying a car. Everything that the consultant built for you kind of changes, right? It's not relevant anymore because you don't have the right percentage on stocks and you don't have the right percentage on dollars, right? So one of the kind of hybrid ways to go is to have that investment consultant or these systems in the background, okay? And they would automatically contact you and contact the investment consultant and tell them, okay, wait, something happened here. This is not, his investments are not right now. They're not built in the right asset management. They're not built right, okay? His portfolio is not in sync with what we wanted it to be, okay? So that's another way to do it. You don't have to come and change the investment consultants. You can just come and add the system to them, okay? But this kind of puts the question of where is the human's role and where is this all going? And one of the things I saw yesterday, and I should put this up as well, one of the big banks, I can tell you which one in a second, has actually taken down their trading rooms. They don't have trading rooms anymore. I think it was Goldman Sachs. Let me check this. Okay? They do not have trading rooms anymore. They put computer systems in there. Okay? Now, that's kind of sad because, has any of you been in a trading room? Okay. Trading rooms, have you seen, have you seen movies about trading rooms?
Screaming people.
Okay. Yeah, that was once. Okay? Once there used to be screaming people that were shouting, but it's not like that anymore. What you have now is screens, exactly. A lot of screens. Okay, it is Goldman Sachs. Okay? Goldman Sachs, it says like this, traders are out and computer engineers are in. Okay? They took 600 traders, they're not there anymore. And instead of that, you know what they're doing? They took engineers and they're putting them together in groups and telling them, create this, create that, create this and create that. Now on the one hand, it sounds wonderful. But if you've never been in a trading room, you don't know what the atmosphere there. It's a bunch of hyperactive, really intelligent people jumping around together and making deals. And this is gone. It's like something that is like, it's going to be prehistoric in a while. Okay? Yeah, it's an end of an era. Okay? And the question is, what's going to happen to investment consultants? What's going to happen to this whole issue of investing? Is it going to be computers telling us where to put the money? And now that raises the question. I'm kind of surprised that you guys asleep a little bit. Where is the, exactly. When I was an investment consultant, I had to go through tests, and I was always checked that I am not investing at all in Israel, and I can only invest in really big stocks in America, okay? As an Israeli investment consultant. Why? Why is this rule there?
Conflict of interests.
Exactly. Because I could be an investment consultant holding a certain stock, and then I tell all my clients, okay, buy the same stock, buy the same stock, buy the same stock, and then the stock price would go up, and then I'd sell the stock and I'd have more money, right? Mm-hmm. Has anyone checked? Okay, because this could be, the regulator could have checked this, but I have not heard of this. Has anyone checked if these systems are not holding their own stocks, not even in the same company, in a different company, and they're telling customers, and I'm not talking about these companies, these companies could be great, but other companies, and these are not the only ones, these are the big ones, but there are a lot of different ones. Has anyone checked that all of them are not holding the same stocks that they're telling people to buy?
Related to Trump.
Yeah, but that would be a complete fraud. Like that would be human nature.
That would be criminal, okay? And it raises questions. That raises questions. It raises questions. How much is the regulator involved, okay, in what's happening here in the investment scene, okay? And what else is happening? Because things are changing and they're shifting so fast, okay? And it's hard, let's say, when I give this lecture, every time I have to go and check again and things are changing constantly. I'm talking every 2 weeks, okay? Is the regulator all over the world checking what's happening? Because I showed you the American banks. Let's assume that the American regulator is fine and they're checking all these companies. What happening in the other companies that have these little things, okay? And they have these little systems. Who is checking them? Okay? We can't give a lecture about fintech without blockchain.
Is there an answer for your question?
No, it's an open question, okay? It's an open question. The thing is this, that we've seen at least 3 different sectors, when in each one of them, there's a question for the regulator, okay? And in each one of them, it raises question, where does the bank start and where does the bank begin, right? What about lending? And you do know that there were problems with lending, right? There were the P2P lending issues. There were issues there that they found frauds and things that were not working properly. And then they changed the CEO. Are there rules about this? Are there regulations? Has the regulator said something about this? Where is it, like, I don't think the regulator is keeping up with everything that's happening because so much is happening all at once, okay? Let's talk for a few seconds about blockchain. Who knows what blockchain is? All right, 2 people. Okay, so in a few words, I'm going to explain about blockchain. Bitcoin. Has anybody heard about Bitcoin?
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about the Bitcoin before we talk about the blockchain. Bitcoin was an idea that said, you know, money all over the world is not connected to anything of value anyway, right? The dollar is not connected to the gold anymore. Therefore, it doesn't really have any value. So why do we have to continue working with the same coins that we've been working for throughout these 100 years, okay, or the last 20 years? Why do we have to go through the dollar? Why do we have to look at the euro? Why do we have to look at any other coin? We could just create a new coin, call it Bitcoin, and have people trade on it. And then, because, you know, the value would go up because people want to invest in it just like any other coin. The Bitcoin is kind of like in a question mark because a lot of people are looking at it skeptically, other people are investing in it and are very happy. We're not going to touch the Bitcoin. But the Bitcoin was built on a technology called blockchain, okay? And the idea of blockchain is that when you have a database that is synchronized all over the world at the same time, it's really hard to make frauds, right? Now, Bitcoin was built on blockchain. The idea was that every time that there's a transaction in the Bitcoin, all of the ledgers, all of the files that have the lists of what's happening with the coin change at the same time. And the history is not erased. It's still there. Okay? Therefore, it's really hard to change the facts in retrospect, right? If something happens, it's going to be written there in the blockchain. Now, we're talking about microchips, right? Now, let's look at this technology without thinking about Bitcoin. What could we do with this kind of technology? Let's start with art. If we put a blockchain on a picture, we could see who was holding it, right? It would be really hard to steal this picture, right? Because we would know who the owners are throughout the time, right? If we put this on houses, okay, then we'd know who is holding a house and who has it as a mishkun. Who's holding it like as a what? Mortgage. No, not the mortgage. The one that
real estate ownership.
Who is not pawn, not the world.
Real estate ownership.
No, when you take a loan, when I take a loan for my house, my house is written on the name of the bank. Exactly, it's collateral. Okay. One of the problems that people, let's say, if you don't imagine when you have blockchain, if you had a blockchain on a house or on a building, then you would know exactly who is using it as collateral, right?
Again?
Collateral. Okay? Yeah. Okay.
Why it's important to know?
Because imagine yourself taking a loan. Okay, now here's another thing. There's a new startup in Israel also that is saying, okay, we saw P2P, right? What about P2P on houses? Why do I have to take my loan for my house from a bank? What if somebody had $100,000 and they wanted to give me a long-term loan for 20 years, and I would actually give them my house as collateral, right?
It's e-loan. You cannot.
Wait, I'm talking about the blockchain, okay? Now there are a lot of people that somebody could actually take his house and give it as collateral to one person, and then again as collateral to a second person, and go start finding out who this house is being used as collateral for, right? Okay? Theoretically, if you have the blockchain system, then you know exactly who has the house as collateral, right? And it's written all over the world, and it can't be changed. Nobody can do the fraud, okay, with the blockchain. That's the idea of the blockchain. It's not yet implemented.
Just if
okay?
you work in the same net. No.
It's the same database. We need the database, and it's going to go around. And okay, I didn't tell you before, but these exclamation marks are showing like where the system could go. So blockchain is still being created, just like IoT. It's in the beginning stages of it. It's kind of like making a glimpse or trying to think what's going to happen in the future. Is blockchain? How big is blockchain going to go? Okay, because it could go to the point of that apple that you have on your table. It could have a little bit of a system of blockchain, and it could say it was grown here and there, and they were using human people as workers, but they were paying them well or not. It has this and that amount of chemicals because it was, they gave chemicals so that there won't be any bugs. I could have that on my hamburger. How they treated the cow. How was the cow fed? How was it moved from one place to another? And then I would come with my phone and look at the food and say, okay, this is a nice razor. He was really nice to his cow. Or this one is, oh my God, look how bad he treated that cow. I'm not going to buy his things. Okay? Theoretically, you could go with blockchain to a lot of different directions. Right now, it's still somewhere on the point between science and fiction. Okay? But a lot of fintech companies are working on blockchain and trying to create and take it into different areas. Okay? So, now the question is, after we've seen what was in the past, we saw traditional banks, we saw where things were going, what things are happening now. Where is all this taking us to? Okay, we're seeing a lot of changes happening, but we're not really sure where is this going to end. Okay, and I want to show you a few of the directions that this whole thing can take. Does anybody know who said this? Banking is necessary, but banks are not. Who said this? No. Bill Gates said this in 1994. Okay? Remember the name. We talked about Apple Pay, right? We talked about Amazon Go. Okay? I want to show you something. Do you know what this is? Okay. Let's look at Alexa for a second and see what they can do with Alexa.
Alexa, ask Capital One, what's my venture card balance?
Your current venture card balance is $550.
Alexa, ask Capital One, when's my payment due?
We're excited to announce the Capital One skill for Amazon Alexa. Now you can manage all of your Capital One accounts, from credit cards and bank accounts to home and auto loans, anytime using nothing but your voice. It's account management that's convenient, voice activated, and there for you whenever you need it.
Okay.
Only with an American accent?
Yeah. But I have a question to you guys. Are you seeing a pattern here? Are we seeing a pattern? What pattern are we seeing?
People on machines.
No.
Talking to machines.
Wait. I'm going to remind you. Apple Pay. Messenger by Facebook, moving money from one place to another. Amazon,
Facebook.
Going, frictionless. I can buy things. Amazon creating Alexa, or Echo as it's called, that works with a bank. Okay? Are we seeing Bill Gates saying that banking is necessary but banks are not? What's the connection?
That it's moving.
Banks are dying.
The whole system is moving from the banks to other high-tech or different companies.
All right, and who are these big, who are these?
Apple.
Exactly. Okay. I want to show you this picture. My daughter painted this one for me. Okay? The thing is this, we had the banks, then came the fintechs, right? And the fintechs, at first, they were like, kind of, I don't know, they're threatening the banks, but the banks found a way to live with them. But in the background, something else is happening here. There are different players. Okay? Look at this. Look at these guys. And we're seeing their footprints everywhere. In each one of the different sectors. We're seeing these guys developing fast, really good stuff. And it looks, could this happen? Okay? Where is this all going? We're looking at, we're used to be looking at banks as big companies, right? But if you look at a bank and you look at one of these guys, you're looking at a giant. If banks are big, these guys are giants. Okay? Their ability to create technology and create innovation is at a different scale and different level. Their ability to be agile and change themselves according to what's happening and what the next big thing is, they create the next big thing. How are the banks going to deal, not with the little fintechs? That's a small problem, they can deal with that. How are they going to deal with this?
Sell now and sell quick.
Regulations.
Okay.
We're going to push for regulations for that as
They
well.
already
All right.
They will buy politicians
not
But I will remind you, these guys know the politicians as well.
Yeah.
Not only those guys know the politicians.
But you can see what happened just recently in Europe
Okay.
with Google and Facebook when it came to the news. Now Europe, the EU made them start paying not just taxes but also money to the news providers for using their own website to promote their products. So Facebook, every time you go into a link that was published by Yediot Ahronot, not Yediot Ahronot,
But yeah, CNN or BBC
so
or Sky News.
pay Yediot Ahronot for it.
All right, which is like an affiliate.
Yeah.
People live with that.
But it's starting, and that's regulation.
Okay, so one of the ways that it could go is that the regulator will come and say, listen, this cannot go on. Something has to be done here. And the banks are important for the regulator. Remember economics? The banks are an important piece of the macro system of a country. But here's the question, okay? If Google comes along tomorrow, it doesn't ask for a licensing for a bank, okay? It just builds, let's look at the Alipay. Do you know Alipay? Theoretically, Google can come tomorrow and say, let's build a little system. I think they already have this, okay?
With an Android payment, they copied that.
Yeah, but let's look at right now. Let's forget the names of this and let's look at the model. Bring money to me. What does Alipay say? Okay, it says bring 1,000 shekels to this account. Now you can start paying. If you need more than 1,000, you can either add more to your account or you can take a loan from us. Okay? And you can buy anything you want. You can just go with, with the screen and buy anything that you want. Theoretically, tomorrow, if Google comes and says, listen, people, just put a little bit of money on your Google, whatever they're going to call it, and you can go around and swipe this instead of a Visa card, okay? And if you need no more money, you can just transfer more money into it. And you're not going to be paying commission. I don't need you guys to be paying commission. What do you think will happen?
Everybody will use it.
Not everybody, but let's start with the first group. Let's look at the different age groups. You have the millennials, you have, let's say, the people up to 50, and then you have the older people. Okay? I did this little research at home. My daughter built this, the same one that drew this for me. I want you to notice, look, did you put teeth here?
No.
From her point of view, these guys are harmless. Banks, I have to tell you, this is a really funny story.
It's a service.
She came home one day, and she decided to open a bank account. She didn't ask me which bank it did from my point of view, what's the difference, if you open a bank account in Bank of Poland, it doesn't really make a difference. And she went and opened a bank account in Bank of Poland. She was really, really happy and everything. And then she came home crying. Now, imagine yourself, 17-year-old girl, crying hysterically. And I was standing there saying, Silly, what happened? Why are you crying so hysterically? And she's telling me, my friend just told me that all the banks take 10 shekels commission every month. Do they know how hard I work for babysitting? I just make 30 shekels an hour, and they're taking me 10 shekels a month. And she's crying with tears and everything started. And I'm standing there as her mother, thinking about, okay, what should I do? I want to hug her on the one hand. I want to laugh on the other hand. And I want to take the camera out and show this because it's like an unfiltered emotional response that everybody feels about these commissions. And for this generation, for the millennials and the younger generation, commissions are something that is unacceptable. They use Snapchat, they use Instagram, they use Facebook, they use everything for free. It doesn't make sense to them that they have to pay for any sort of electronic service, right? Now look at this. How is that possible that all of these services and all of these giants are not taking commission? What's happening here? And why are the banks taking commissions? And it boils down to different business models, okay? The business model of banks was connecting people that have things and people that have needs, okay, and taking a commission out of it, offering service and taking a commission for it, okay? The business model of these giants is what? What is their business model of these guys? What do they do? Where do they make the money?
Advertising.
How do they know who to advertise what to? What are they using?
The database.
Footprint.
They're using something that the banks are not yet using. That is the whole big data issue, okay? Banks know a lot about you. They have everything in their databases, but Amazon knows what to do with their databases much better than what they know what to do with the databases, okay? And that's a problem. Because theoretically, tomorrow when Google comes and offers this bank, they're not going to take commission. Why? Because they can offer you guys a bank account and they won't need to take commission, because what they're going to do is they're going to put commercials there that are especially fitted to your needs, because they know that you went and bought in Shupersal. And then they're going to say to Shupersal, look, you could put commercials here for that person. And they can go to Shupersal's competitor and tell him, put commercials here as well. They're going to be making money out of the data, not out of the users.
They said that if you don't pay for the product, that means that you are the product. So
Exactly. Now, it's happening. Somebody said here something about Waze, right? Do you know that little circle? The little Waze circle that you have there with the speed limit? What is that circle for?
connecting to the police.
Not yet. You can't make money out of the police. Think money.
It probably, going back to the beginning of the lecture, probably transfers to the insurance company.
Exactly. Okay? All of this data goes into a database, and they know about each and every one of us, what our driving habits are. I got here too fast today, right? And you know what? Google knows this. And he knows exactly what speed I'm driving at.
They'll sell it to the insurance company.
And they can sell it to the insurance company. And therefore, I'm going to get a different premium than what you're going to be getting, because I'm guessing that you're a better driver than I am. And I'm not even going to know. Okay? And this is what I'm talking about, the different business models. The big issue here that differentiates the banks and the big companies is the business model. And the trouble that the banks are going through is because their business model is not synced with what's happening with the world. Nobody is taking commissions anymore. They're using the information. And banks have a problem. They have two problems with using the information. What are the two problems that banks have with information?
Regulation, they're not allowed to.
Exactly, that's one problem. What?
Privacy rules.
Privacy rules, okay? That's the same thing as regulation. And they don't really know how to use this data.
I was at the bank yesterday, they could not find me in the system until I found my account number. With Teudat Zut, my husband and I, we just closed the account a few months ago. We didn't exist anymore.
Now look at that.
How lame their system is.
What would happen if you stopped using Amazon or Strawberry Net? You know what? Forget Amazon. What would happen? They would contact you and tell you, honey, we have great sales. Look at what we can offer you. Strawberry Net. I'm not talking about
They
Amazon.
gave up on us. There was nothing, you know.
Look at all this data.
Yeah.
And this is data that they can use. Okay? They can use these, they know what's happening with their customers. They can offer things, but they don't know how to use it. They've never used it before. Okay? And that's one of the problems. If they don't get over this issue, they're going to have a problem. Okay? And I started telling you that I asked what's going to happen when Google offers this kind of Google Wallet or whatever it is, a Google bank account. They don't even have to call it a bank account. Okay? Theoretically, Facebook could do it. Okay? With transferring money, they could just offer it all over the world, and I could just go buy it from different vendors, and I would just put money there, and I wouldn't need my bank account. I wouldn't pay that 120 shekels for each row in the system, right? So I asked my daughter, honey, if forget Google, if Snapchat offered you to put money with them and start using them instead of your credit card, and they wouldn't ask for commission, what would you do? And she was like, duh. I'd put my money with Snapchat. Okay?
Clear.
Okay, so I said, okay, I'm going to ask my husband, honey, would you put your money in, let's say, Google, okay? Google is not Snapchat. And he was thinking, and he said, I guess I would, but I'm not sure if I would put my investments there. But what do I care if I put, let's say, half of my salary in there and then start using that as a cashing account, instead of using the cash account in my regular bank account, right? And my dad was home. I asked my dad, Dad, would you do it? And he was like, no way.
He still goes into the bank.
All right.
Draws once a month.
Yeah, no, he's not that bad. He's a math professor, so he doesn't withdraw every month.
Yeah.
But he likes the old way, he knows the people, and he likes that, okay? But I'm sorry to say, my dad's generation, at some point I'm going to be taking care of his accounts, right? I love you, Dad. But this can't continue. As you can see, there's...
קהל נכבד, ערב טוב. שירותי הספרייה הסתיימו בשעה 7:45. האגף הדרומי יישאר פתוח עד השעה 11. הכניסה והיציאה לאחר השעה 8 תתבצע ברחבת מוזיאון ליד חלק 640. תודה.
In the other class, we get
Good evening. My resources will enter the close at 8. The southern wing will remain open until 11 p.m. Entry and exit after 8 will be via the Haifa Museum foyer, terminal 640. Thank you.
Just has the accent. All right, okay. So we're seeing that this whole system is changing, right? And we're seeing that if we look a little bit deeper, we're seeing a bigger picture, because at the beginning we just saw this, right? And then we take a step back, we're seeing this. And my daughter not putting the teeth here kind of works with what she was saying, and kind of works with how the millennials and how Generation Y, X, Z, how they're thinking. They're not thinking of these guys as conglomerates. They're looking at them as really friendly companies that are giving them wonderful service where they can contact with their friends and buy anything they want. Okay? Now, we know what can happen when banks fail, right? We know what can happen with Etialon. We know what can happen in 1983. Was anybody here around 1983? Okay, with the hyperinflation and the banks going down because they were selling their own stocks? Okay? We know these things. They don't know these things. That's kind of like prehistoric information that is not interesting for them. They would just put their money on Instagram, wherever. Like, what do they care? Okay? They trust all of these things. The predictions of where the banks are going. Okay, again, we're kind of looking into the future. One direction could be this. The regulator could be stopping it. The banks could be getting better. Okay? This whole picture could change. But right now, there are a lot more question marks than there are answers, right? With what's happening in this scene. But what are the predictions? This graph kind of looks at the top trend predictions, and they went over, everybody was saying, what are the top trends for 2017? And they kind of aggregated them and started asking people, what do you think is going to be happening with the fintech sector? Okay? So where's the money going to go with the financial institutions? Okay? So they said, first of all, removing the friction. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then they're going to be using the big data. They're going to have to learn how to use the big data. By the way, you're all students, right? One of the biggest needs for employees right now are for people with background in big data, that know how to do statistics, that know how to look at data. Okay? If you guys are thinking about your future, and this is interesting for you, and you know mathematics and you know statistics, and you're interested in going into these fields, they're saying, I think they said something like, I don't remember, was it 10,000 people that they need in big data that they need in the workforce and they're not there. Okay? So this is one of the areas that are very interesting. AI. Remember machine learning with the chatbots and other stuff? Okay? There's a lot of work going on in that sector. Okay, integrated multi-channel delivery systems. One of the issues banks have, remember this little picture here? Banks would have been very happy to integrate a lot of fintechs into their system, right? What's one of the things that's stopping them?
Regulation, yeah.
Okay, even worse than regulation.
Their ability to handle technology.
Okay, their ability to integrate things into their systems. Remember what we said about their legacy systems? They have a problem. They don't necessarily even have the ability to add on things to their systems. But they're also kind of hesitant because theoretically, if they open their systems tomorrow to different add-ons, who knows what kind of add-ons are going to be added up? Remember we saw Mint? Okay? If they have an open API, theoretically, any other startup could start saying, I'll show you what you have in your bank, and in this bank, and in this bank, and the banks are just going to be like systems in the background where startups are going to be customer-facing. So it's kind of like a two-sided story, right? Should banks open their systems to put fintechs in? And where, like, they have a risk here. If they don't open it, they're still staying behind. If they're going to open it, they might lose a lot of customers and a lot of services that others could be building on their systems. Okay?
I think the trend now is that they're starting to do their own fintech. Like Leumi is starting this you pay as you go with their app and whatever.
Right, and
you can download it even if you're not a...
Right, and Poalim did Bit. They did the Bit system where you can start transferring money, by the way, one to another, and it goes down from my credit card and goes down to up to your credit card. Okay?
Not just that. They opened the Citibank opened the Innovation Lab here in Israel, and I think also I forgot the UK that opened it as well.
That is one of the areas that this is happening, but it's not, I can tell you as somebody that has been working in a bank up until 6 weeks ago, it's not that simple. It's really not that simple because you have the legacy systems. And by the way, I didn't put this in this graph, but here's the difference, okay? This is why fintechs are so disruptive, okay? And if you compare the fintech startups to the financial industry, you're going to see that there are a lot of different reasons why fintechs are going ahead so much faster than the banks. And one of them is the legacy problem, okay, that the banks have. The other problem is the complex regulatory system. They can't do everything they want. Even if they have the innovation labs, they're not necessarily able to do it from the regulator's point of view, and they're not necessarily going to be able to do it from the legacy system's point of view. Okay, their systems, I know this from the inside. Okay, we couldn't do everything we wanted. We could imagine things, and then just trying to integrate what we're thinking inside the bank into the systems is problematic. It's not that simple, and it's not a problem only in Israel. It's all over the world. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna end. Well, I could go on. There's more. Okay. What? This one? This one. Okay. So but this is not my picture. I'm not going to show it. Okay, let's look at this from a different point of view and ask ourselves, why are fintechs doing so well? Okay, what is the reason? Let's start looking at this from a macro point of view. Why are the fintechs the type of startups that are doing so well? Do you have any idea?
It's very easy to do it from Haifa. Technology first.
Okay.
Technology first. It's enable things to do it much quicker.
Okay, you could do it technology first. Okay, but now you have in any different field, theoretically. What is making fintech much better than other startups?
I think it's rooted in what are we looking for rather than selling us something that they thought of and then why we need it. It's more.
But you could say that also about other systems, like other ecosystems, not necessarily the financial ecosystem. What differentiates startups in the financial ecosystem in comparison to startups in other?
The competitors, the banks are so.
Oh, okay, that's one thing. The difference between where the banks are and where the technology is. The difference is very big, okay? In retail, things are much better, okay?
Potential is.
Again, what?
Potential.
The potential of growth is, exactly, because of that, the potential of growth is very big. They need to reach the level of Amazon, okay? That's one. What else? What else makes it easier to become, like, why are the fintechs doing much better?
Because the banks are conservative.
The what?
Conservative.
Okay, that's again kind of like the difference between where the technology of the world is and where the banks are. But there's another reason.
Target audience, exactly.
Economy.
Target audience, that's true.
Actually,
what else?
Actually, also today, the banks are really running deals that really not based on anything.
Okay, you're saying that the pricing is too high anyway to begin with. They're like a cartel, or what you're saying is that the commissions that they're taking are too expensive for what they're offering. Okay, so there's like an anomaly there, and there's a lot of money happening there. That's another reason. But I'm gonna ask you now to look from the point of view of a startup investor. A startup. You are a startup. You want somebody to invest in your company, right? Who invests in fintech companies?
You.
Us.
No.
We don't have money.
What did you say? City Accelerator. What else did you say?
You have the banks and you also have hubs that are hosted by the banks.
Okay, look at this. Who are the investors in fintech? Okay? It's even, I think this one's even better. Major bank investments. This is what this picture is. I'm going to show it really, really fast and go away. Okay? The thing is this, that building a startup in the fintech industry, some say that it's like going on a backpacking trip when somebody else is carrying everything that you need to carry. Because theoretically the banks, if they're giving the money to the fintech startups to build the systems, then the fintech startups have less work to do than in any other industry where they have to go and find investors and it's really hard for them. It's like the synergy between the banks and the fintechs has created an ecosystem where it's comparably much easier to build a fintech system, because if you're building something the banks really need, they're going to be giving you the money. You don't have to go to a private investor and tell him, oh, look at my system, and then he's going to be looking at you in comparison to other companies in different fields. Your investors are the banks and the financial services themselves. Okay? That's reason number 2. And that's what that picture was about. Okay?
I think more than that, they can understand the needs as well. Like often you need to go to someone and you need to explain all the personal or entities that invest in you, they need to...
Yeah, you don't need to explain. That's true. That's exactly true. Because when you're a fintech and you're coming to the banks and you're explaining to them, listen, this is what I'm thinking of doing, They immediately understand what you're saying because it's in their field. Whereas if you're going to an investor and you're starting to explain to him about a system that he doesn't know, let's say a medical system, okay? And you're starting to say, listen, I know that in the radiology systems they need this and this and this. And an investor's going to look and say, huh? What are you guys talking about? Whereas if you're going to a bank and you're saying, listen, I'm thinking about creating a chatbot that's going to let your customers know what's happening in their bank account at any time and anything, they're going to say, okay, wow, that really sounds interesting, okay? And they might invest in you, okay? So,
and they may help you to think of more like
exactly.
maybe involved.
And it could be even easier for them to have you created than having them created in-house.
There's a difference of having a strategic investor versus a financial investor.
Exactly.
In this case, it's both.
And in this case, you have so many strategic investors.
Yeah.
Think of that. You can go theoretically to all these banks in the world and tell them, I have this idea. And you have the City Accelerator, and you have the JP Morgan one, and you have so many different accelerators. You just need to go to them. And they're waiting, and they're just waiting for new ideas and innovative ideas because look at where they have to go. They have to reach the level of Amazon. How are they going to do that? And they have to do it fast. Because how long is it going to take for the big 4 ones or the big 5 ones to just take over banking? Okay?
That's the reason, that's the same reason that the Fed, it's not going to kill the banks. The banks will still exist. The banking system.
I know a lot of people that would bet against you.
They're not going to disappear.
It's not true.
I know a lot of people that are going to bet against you on that. I know a lot of them. I know other people that are going to say, no, the regulator is going to come and do something about it. And I know people that are going to say, okay, they're going to exist. But look at these guys.
So they will be with you.
Where are all these guys?
Vanished.
Well, Nokia actually had a new product.
Oh yeah, remember their CEO crying?
Yeah.
Sitting there literally crying. That was really sad. Okay? This is one of the alternatives for the banks. Okay? If they don't get their act together and move fast enough, or they don't have the regulator on their side, what we're seeing here could happen to the banks. Because why do you need iTunes anymore? You can just download it and use it if you want. Do you have an Android? You don't need that. Okay, but I didn't make this slide. Okay, it was just like I said. Okay, I'm going to take the ones that we really know. Okay, that we know, and they said it's not going to happen to us. Remember them? Yeah. It's not going to happen to us. Where are they now? Okay, I don't even know why Levi see. I don't know, but they put them here. Okay, Polaroid. There are companies here that I wouldn't do this whole thing. Okay, if I would have built this slide, but this is an example of one of the predictions of what can happen to the banks. Okay. We're going to take that down because I didn't create that one.
iTunes is one of the reasons why people stop buying iPhones. Because you can't download the songs. You need to have iTunes. So you just don't buy an iPhone anymore. You just buy a Samsung.
Americans still all that.
And they
It's so
download
frustrating.
a lot of
They're all iPhones.
Yeah, but would it bother you to be an American with a Samsung?
Me personally, but everybody else is all
it's not
iPhone.
everybody else.
I know a lot of I know a lot of Americans. Do you think that happens because it's trendy or because there's a really big difference? Like what's working here? What's happening?
I haven't been there long enough to know.
All right.
I think it's a social statement.
It's crazy.
It's fashion. Okay.
No.
Yeah. I think so.
Maybe the Americans that we hang out with, but there are plenty of Americans that have
In
Android.
DC, most of them had iPhones.
Yeah.
It's like,
They don't see the point.
I think if you look at the market penetration, iPhones, there are more iPhones than Samsungs or any other thing in America. Okay? It's a question. Okay? So this is the time for questions, and they're closing the library. So if you guys want to ask any questions and you have any thoughts, this is the time for it.
Or we can be stuck here all together until tomorrow morning. We have a lot of time for questions.
Yeah. Yes, but no. I still need to drive back to Jerusalem.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to say.
You think that if you want to go, actually, when you say if you want to go to the banking industry, you have to really know how to code, actually.
Yes. Or you're going to know how to use big data, or you're going to know UX, user experience. Yes, this is what they're looking for in banks. You saw what Goldman Sachs put up. I should have put this here, okay? Goldman Sachs hired 600 traders, and they're using the huge spaces that they have there to build little hubs of computer people thinking about new ideas. Okay, we're going to do this.
ערב טוב. שירותי הספרייה מסתיימים כעת. האגף הדרומי יישאר פתוח עד השעה 11. אם ברצונכם להישאר בספרייה, נא עברו לאגף הדרומי. שימו לב כי היציאה מן הספרייה תתבצע מרחבת מוזיאון הכט ליד חדר 640. והיציאה מהאוניברסיטה
I can do it like this.
עד השעה 11. תודה.
Oh, let's do the one with the fish. You're right. Let's do the fish one. Here. Now that's a picture. Like, look at that. See? Look at the picture.
Please pay attention. Entry and exit will be by the Haifa University near room 640.
You're going to have them here.
The university
Okay.
is possible from the main
I'm not
building
gonna
700th floor until 11 p.m. Thank you.
Video onto the portal.
Ah, okay, but the actual presentation, no?
No, the thing is that theoretically I would let you have the presentation, but I haven't had the chance to go over all of the things and check that I am not violating anybody, I'm not making anybody angry. I don't want to make anybody angry. And most of these are commercials. As you can see, I'm just showing what other banks are doing and other companies, which is fine. But the end of it, where what I didn't want to show you, and the fish I got my daughter to paint. So let's see if there's any good picture, because it's really hard to take good pictures of me. I move too much. Look at this. My hair is like. All right, well, we're going to need another picture. Can we do a picture? Okay. Are there any questions, or you guys are free to go?
Who do you work for? Like, do you work for a company? Or
I did. I worked. Oh, I forgot to tell you this. Right. Up to 6 weeks ago, I was the business development manager of LumiTrade. Do you know what LumiTrade is? Yeah. The investing. Okay, it's the trading website, the investment trading website of Bank Lumi, and I've been doing their business development for the last 7.5 years. Before that, I started in the bank as an investment consultant. I actually did I studied investment consulting with them. But after 2 years, I already managed an investment consulting department. I had my investment consultant under me. But before that, I was actually in startups and in high tech. And I know how it looks like when a bubble explodes. I was pregnant, 5 months pregnant with my second boy, and the bubble exploded, and all the startups closed all at once. And finding a job while being pregnant in the middle of recession is not easy. Okay. And then, after a year, I gave birth to him, and I stayed with him at home for about half a year or something like that. I didn't even want to look for a job then, so I have to be with my boy. And then, the moment that Bank Lumi got my CV, they were like, at 3 weeks I was already working for them, and they said, we're going to put you in on the investment track, and you're going to study to become an investment consultant. And I was happy because I was like, okay, somebody's paying me to study. Well, that's the greatest dream ever, right? The coolest dream ever. And I told you in about 2 years I was managing a department of investment consultants. And then after that I said, okay, it was such a big difference going from high tech and startups into working in a bank in a branch. The difference is like it's going back in time. And after a couple of years, I said, okay, I'm going back to high tech. Okay, that's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna continue staying here. And they were actually they decided to use what I have to offer, which is good because I offered them. I said, okay, I can help you guys, but not in this constellation. And they let me work in LumiTrade. I had the greatest manager ever, Mo, I love you. And she left with me. And after 7.5 years working together, we left LumiTrade. And now there are wonderful people working there too. And now I'm trying to be on vacation, which is finding itself kind of hard, because what's happening is that different startups are contacting me to come and give them advice about how to build their fintech startup and how to work with the banks. Because if you're a fintech startup and you don't understand what's happening in the banks, it's kind of hard for you. Because first of all, there's regulation. Not everybody that is outside of the bank knows the regulation as much as somebody that's inside the bank. I know the regulations, like I had to work around them, right? And they don't know where the legacy system ends and where it starts. Like, how can I build a product so that it will be the easiest to integrate it with the bank, okay? And there are shortcuts. And how do I work with this big company? Like, who do I talk to, and how fast and how slow? Why is it going so slow? Okay? Whereas when you're working with somebody that was in the bank, you know all these systems, you know all the shortcuts, you know all the people, okay? So I have wanted to be on vacation, which I'm not exactly on. Plus I'm giving lectures, which I love doing, which is fun. And I'm thinking about what I'm going to continue with, because some of these startups have asked me to join them and become a co-founder or work with them in different capacities. So I'm kind of like checking where I'm going, and of course different banks are also asking me to come and join them. But I can't do that for the next 4 months. So I'm not doing anything with that, but I'm kind of supposed to be on vacation right now. That's our
Enjoy and good luck.
All right, any other questions? All right.